We're live.
We are.
Hello,
Woohoo.
everybody. We've done it, Brooke. I've been sitting here. Brooke's been calming me down for the last 10 minutes, telling me to breathe. So here we are. Welcome to the very, very first Wisdom of Women interview. And today we've got the lovely Brooke Bownes with us. I'm just going to introduce Brooke in a minute. But first of all, I want to give you a quick rundown. We are going to have a different wonderful guest every week, every Wednesday at 5 p.m. BST, British Summer Time, and that is 6 o'clock in Spain and Central Europe. We're going to be here live on my profile, and when I work the tech out for that, it is going to go onto my YouTube channel, which is the Livinglimitlessly YouTube channel. So if you're not a Facebook person, you can pop on there and watch it there, but you wouldn't know that because you're on here. But anyway, there you go. If you've got anybody who wants to watch it that doesn't like Facebook, they can go onto my YouTube channel. I'll put all of this in the comments so that you can find it. And for those of you that don't know me, because you might be thinking you don't know me, because normally I'm Sarah Jackson, but today, as and now forever, I am Sarah Grace. I have formally, because my passport needed changed, I've formally changed my name from Jackson to Grace. So now I am Sarah Dawn Grace, which is a lovely name, and it's made Graham very happy. So there we go. So if you don't know me, I am on a mission to empower professional women who have experienced childhood sexual abuse and who are now overworking in an attempt to relieve their inner pain and turmoil, to reclaim their inner peace, their self-love and their worthiness. And if you want to find out more about that, you can pop over to my website, which is livinglimitlessly.co.uk. And again, I shall put that in the comments so you don't have to remember. But today, without further ado, the stage is held by the lovely Brooke Bownes. Brooke is a transformational speaker, a trauma coach, and an author, soon to be, of 2 books. She is going to speak to us today around our interview about narcissism and the mother wound. And Brooke, we've had loads of people messaging me throughout the day to say, wow, yeah, I need to hear this. So even if there aren't very many people watching on the live, if you're watching on replay, please put replay and where you are watching from so that we get an idea of how many people this is reaching and which topics go down the best. So, Brooke, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's lovely. And I'm really, really, it's a special day because it's the first one I've ever done. First interview ever. And it's lovely to have a friendly face to be interviewing. So, Brooke, what do you do that brings value to the world, and why are you passionate about it?
Oh, great questions. I help midlife women to actually heal and release their trauma from their childhood that's stopping them from moving forward in their life so they can live the life they truly want to, and help them to break through their stories and their old beliefs, because we're often beliefs of inherited from other people and obviously generations back. And one of my clients actually nicknamed me, a couple of them did, the breakthrough queen, because I get through quickly, the breakthrough, to find out what's holding them back. And sometimes people don't even realize that's the thing that's holding them back. And I'm very, very passionate about that. And I'm on a mission, like you, to help people, because I grew up with a narcissistic mother, and I know what it feels like to feel, that inner child wound of feeling worthless, of feeling, unlovable, unwanted, not important. So I don't want anybody to feel like that going forward. And so many women don't realize that they can be different, because a lot of the clients, when they come to me, say, well, that's the way our family's always been, or that's the way I've always been, so I'm kind of stuck like this. But no, you don't have to be. And I'm on a mission to get a movement of women who are confident to be themselves, to be seen, to be heard, and to have fun in the process. Because obviously if they've gone through trauma in their childhood, they didn't always have much fun. So it's like, let's have fun now, get rid of those traumas, release those traumas, heal from them, and live the life you really truly want to live now. So I'm very, very passionate about that, because I know what it feels like, because I've walked in those shoes, I've lived that life, and now I live a different life where I'm confident, I enjoy my life, I've healed my wounds, and I can actually help lots of other women do that. I found my purpose in life from doing that as well. So something I'm very, very passionate about.
Yeah, I can hear that. Yeah, sounds like we've got a lot in common, really, Brooke, through how we, the ladies that we serve, because a lot of the ladies that I serve who've experienced childhood sexual abuse have also experienced a narcissistic parent as well. May not have been the mother, but it could have been the father, but often tends to be the mother as well. So yeah, I can really hear what you're saying and feel the value in what you're offering to these ladies. So you said that as you were, you have healed your wounds and you've healed your trauma to enable you to live this life that you were always meant to have. So how would you say that your childhood has really affected who you've become, and where did you grow up? Tell us a bit about that.
Well, I actually grew up on a farm. I'm a farmer's daughter, and I was quite a determined young child to start with, because I was actually born with a cord wrapped around my neck, which caused medical complications. It caused my whole right side to be weakened, and my parents were told that I would probably never walk, and if I did, I would never run or ride a bike. And obviously I didn't get the memo, and I did learn to walk a bit later in life. And then I was so determined when I went back to have a checkup, and the doctor said, that's amazing that you've learned to walk, but you won't have the strength in your right side to push the pedals and hold the handlebars to ride a bike or actually run. But to me, I really wanted to do that because, my mother was always saying, you didn't even have the audacity to be born properly. Why couldn't you have been normal? Because, her being a narcissist, they like to have, everything looking perfect. So I thought if I learned to ride my bike like my brother and all the other kids, I'd be normal and she would love me. So that was my driving motivation. And I did learn to ride a bike, and then I took it, made my dad take my bike into the hospital so I could show all the doctors and nurses that I did learn to ride my bike. But that was the catalyst, what sort of really started it all off, because my mother went absolutely mad. How dare I show off like that? How dare I, be so rude to defy what the doctor said, how dare I be such a show off? And I can remember when she was lashing into me and screaming at me, just sort of having my head like this covering and thinking, oh my goodness, I need to stay small to stay safe, because if I talk out, I'm not safe. So my confidence got chipped away at daily. She used to say that I was ugly, that I was worthless. She wished I'd have died at birth, that I'll never amount to anything. So daily she was, constantly at me about something. And bit by bit, my confidence got knocked and knocked and knocked. And I became this very shy little girl that was too scared to say anything or do anything for fear of, saying something that would upset her. And then I would suffer the consequences of that. So I grew up very, very fearful. I was very hyper vigilant, walking on eggshells, which I'm sure a lot of your audience can actually relate to if they've had traumatic childhoods, because you're just too scared to do anything for fear of what will happen and the repercussions that you're going to get. So it had a huge, huge effect on my life. And then I left home at 16 and kind of jumped out the frying pan into the fire and ended up in a narcissistic relationship. So because I didn't feel worthy of anything, and I got love bombed by this person, and like, oh my goodness. But as soon as I kind of got into that relationship, the true him came out, and I realized, and it was that pivotal moment then, thinking, okay, the common factor here is me. So maybe if I change how I think about things, people around me will change. So that started off my journey of like self-development and really sort of starting to work on myself. So yeah, it was interesting, because I can remember being 7 and going outside and just looking up at the sky, and I'm not particularly religious, but saying, I don't know why I'm in this situation. There must be a reason for it. Just tell me what my purpose is so I can just start getting on with it. So even at the age of 7, I knew I'd got a purpose. And I think that was one of the things that really scared my mother, because I was the scapegoat, in which, if you know anything about narcissism, there's, the scapegoat is often the truth teller. So she was absolutely petrified that I would go out and tell the truth about the life I had, because when you're in a narcissistic family, it's kind of the unspoken word to like keep it quiet, keep it secret. What goes on in the family stays in the family. But I wasn't prepared to do that. So and I'm very vocal about speaking out about my childhood and how I felt about it.
Yeah. So did you have do you have brothers and sisters?
I've got a brother, an older brother, yeah.
And so what was his role in your growing up?
As far as she was concerned, he was a golden child. He could do nothing wrong, but we were actually quite close. he never acted like he was like the golden child, and he was always very, very protective of me. And he joined the army when he was 16, so he left home as quickly as he could as well. So but yeah, we used to have some great times together, but she never liked us being together. She was always trying to separate us, but as narcissists do, they like to isolate people. And she used to get very, very angry if we were together having fun. So we had to be very, very careful how we enjoyed each other's company as well, which is really, really sad, because most normal mothers love the fact that siblings will actually get on together.
Yes, yeah. There are so many parallels between my upbringing as somebody who was sexually abused, and also looking back on it, I can see that my stepfather was a narcissist as well. So I can read that lots of what you're saying is really resonating with me as well, and I'm sure it is with lots of the listeners. If anybody's listening and this is resonating with them, yeah, give us a yes, and let us know what Brooke is saying is resonating with you, because we're going to share some details at the end where you can get in touch with her and get help if you haven't been able to find any yet. So yeah, it is a very powerful story. I'm curious, you said that there was a pivotal moment. So tell us a bit more about that pivotal moment. What happened to make you go from being really scared and hypervigilant and quiet to this strong woman now who is out there helping all these other ladies and really sharing her story fearlessly?
Well, it was I got married to the narcissist, and 3 months into the marriage, he just got really upset about something. He didn't believe something I said, and he actually picked me up and threw me against the wardrobe, and he threw me so hard that my head ricocheted, that I ended up with whiplash and concussion. And I then wanted to immediately leave. And my mother, actually, what she did was she got all the family around, and all his family and all my family around, to try and like keep me there, because she didn't want me to get divorced. It's like, you can't be the first one in our family to get divorced. You made your bed, you need to lie in it, type thing. And I thought, what? It's like, I need to do something different here. So it started off my journey, but it took me a while to kind of like understand it, because I didn't really understand what narcissism was back then. I just thought, I don't want to have these kind of people in my life. I didn't really know who they were. And then I sort of started like studying self-development books, and got really sort of like strong in my mindset. But what I didn't realize back then, that the trauma was trapped in my body, and my body was reliving it every day, and it was reacting to situations, and it was letting my subconscious mind know that I wasn't in safe situations. And then I went on to have two little boys, which are absolutely gorgeous little boys. And that was the next pivotal moment in my life. I came out the supermarket, and I was pregnant with my third child, and I bumped into a friend, and she said, "Oh, I bet you really love a little girl," which is like quite an innocent, comment to make, because I'd already got two boys. And that was the next thing. It's like, oh my goodness, it's like, if I have a little girl, will I have the same sort of relationship that I had with my mother and my mother had with my grandmother? I was like, what am I going to do? So that was like, okay, I really need to like ramp up, like working on myself, so I can be really strong. So I'm that change maker, that cycle breaker, so it doesn't go on for generations after me. Fortunately, it does end in a nice story. I went on to have two amazing girls, and they're 28 and 29 now, and they are my best friends. I'm so glad I had two girls as well. So
Yeah.
it's one that, having my four children and having them grow up to be like, well-rounded children, it was like, one of my major accomplishments in life. So, but it was just realizing that it was about, how I was attracting these people in my life, and it was how I was thinking about me, because I had no self-esteem, I had no confidence. I just felt like I was worthless, and if anybody came along and showed me any bit of attention, I was like, right, okay, yeah, I would grasp onto that, because I was desperate to be loved, to feel that wound of not feeling good enough and not feeling lovable, which I know you can completely relate to. So it was like working on myself so I could start loving me, and realizing that I don't need to like cling on to every person that comes along, that I could actually sort of see the people for who they were. So I
And
could
you
end
don't
up with
have
a
to
healthy
just
relationship.
not just take any scrap that's thrown down for you. If you
Yeah.
can leave the scraps exactly where they are. And I think this will really resonate with a lot of the listeners and the viewers, Brooke, because so much childhood trauma results in us. feeling worthless, and then getting into really horrible relationships because we just want to be loved. Yeah, absolutely. So can I ask, please feel free to not answer this if you don't want to, but I think a lot of the other ladies would be thinking this as well. What has happened between you and your mother now? How have you dealt with all of that?
Well, it's interesting because once I really got my mindset sort of straightened out, she started distancing herself. And just over 9 years ago, she decided to make a pact not to speak to me. And I didn't know why, and she wouldn't tell me. And but she made up this elaborate story that because my dad was 80 then, that I didn't go to see him on his 80th birthday, and I didn't make any fuss of him. So, she didn't want to speak to me anymore. And she'd got my dad to believe that as well, because he'd had a stroke and she was his carer. And it's just quite ironic, really, because as I found this out, your Facebook memories come up, and it was all pictures of me taking my children and my grandchildren down to see my dad, with us presenting him with a cake and singing him happy birthday and all those things. But that's a narcissism in her. She had to make some sort of story up to make it so she could actually action that thing. So the less that she could push my buttons, she had no reason to have me in her life, because I wasn't a fix for her. So she kind of dumped me to find somewhere else to get her fix from, because as you know, and I don't know if your audience know, narcissists is a bit like alcoholics or drug addicts. They need that daily fix to help them, to make them feel good. And I wasn't prepared to be her fix anymore. So I wasn't any use to her. So she just discarded me. And we hardly ever spoke. And we only kind of spoke last September, actually, when my dad actually passed away. And she said that she would allow me to come to the funeral. And I said, well, I want to go down and see him in the chapel of rest. And she said, no, you can't. She said, because you didn't care about him when he was alive. So you're not going to see him now he's passed away. But that was her last bit of control of me, because me and my dad were really close. That was her last bit of control for her to sort of say, because she knew that nothing else that she did would hurt and affect me. But it was all about my dad. And she made the whole funeral all about her, even to the point where she said to my two daughters, because they wanted to do a reading, she said to my oldest daughter, if you can do a reading, but do not mention your mother. And then she said to my youngest daughter, if you just to let you know, if you mention your mother in the reading, you'll get kicked out of the funeral. So it was she really, doesn't want me to even. And then they did a slideshow of everybody in the family at the funeral. They had the pictures my children with my dad, the pictures of my children with my brother. But I wasn't in any one of the slideshows. It's like I didn't even exist, even though I was sat 2 rows behind her in the actual funeral. But that's how narcissists can work, because they don't see their children as a person. They just see them as extensions of themselves that they can use and abuse for their own needs. So
Brooke, it's absolutely heartbreaking to hear. It really is. And to know that it's not just happened to you; it's happened to so many people, boys and girls. As they were growing up.
Yeah.
And it's just an absolute testimony to you as a woman and your courage and faith in things being better and being able to change this. So I'm absolutely full of admiration for you. It just making me feel quite emotional. Yeah.
I mean, I was fortunate that I had my dad and my granddad and one of my aunties who did love me. So I knew that not all adults were like my mother. So it was nice to have them. But I'll be really open and transparent here. When my dad passed away in September, my granddad and my auntie had already passed away, it really did kind of hit me really hard, because it was the last person that I felt safe with as such, from my childhood. And it was now he'd passed away, because my mother was caring for him, and he suffered as well. Now he'd passed away, he was safe in a way. That may sound really, really strange, but it was my body knew he was safe, so I could heal the last bits of things that I needed to heal. And how I felt was, and I describe it to a lot of my clients, because I'm very open about this, when you drive a car and the mechanic says, don't let your petrol or diesel run really low because it pulls up all the gunk from the bottom of the engine. I just felt all the gunk had been pulled up from the bottom of my childhood and was going round and round in my body. So I reached out and got some help and some therapy for that, which was the best thing I could ever done, because it really did help because different things will trigger different things off. And I'd buried so much stuff so deep that it was my dad passing away that triggered it off, and so I could clear it all, which was absolutely fantastic. It was messy. It was like a tsunami of like tears, that snot fest where you're like, oh my goodness, you didn't realize you could produce so much snot and tears in one go. But because when we do heal, and I'm quite open with my clients, it can be messy, but and I liken it to like baking a cake. When you first start, we're a bit like the cake where we've got separate compartments where you've got the eggs, the flour, the sugar, but you have to mix it all together and make it messy for it to come out in the end to be a beautiful, lovely, tasty cake. So when my clients cry, I absolutely cheer, because it's a great way, as you know, to release emotions. It's a very natural way to release the emotions and release the trauma. But a lot of children that have been through trauma, and as adults, they were never allowed to cry as children. So they're like, oh, I can't cry. And once they do let it out, they're like, oh my goodness, I feel so much better, so much lighter. And it's a wonderful feeling for them. So I embrace that messiness with my clients and say, okay, let's get through this, because you're going to come out feeling much more lighter, feeling much more joyous, and feeling much more yourself as well.
Yeah, I completely agree that the journey to healing, it takes great courage. And if you're not a little bit nervous when you set off, it's because you have no idea what you're about to let yourself in for. But it's so worth it. I mean, and I think you and I can both vouch, and a lot of the ladies that I've worked with and that you've worked with, everybody, it's difficult, but my God, the relief on the other side. And for me, I mean, I'm the same as you. I'm very open with my clients, and I work with a somatic healer, sexual somatic healer now, because of the nature of what happened to me. And even now, on a bi-monthly basis, there's trauma being released from my body. So I don't think we're ever really fully healed. There's always a layer that you can go down to, isn't there? Another layer and another layer and another layer that is waiting to be released if you want to go there. But a lot of people, they do the first bit and then they need a rest. I've done that. And then you go back and you take another layer off and another layer off, and every layer is like it's like a mask coming off, like the pain of that bit is then released and gone. But you can't, I don't believe you can do this on your own. You can do a lot on your own with self-help and reading and watching people, but I think, as you say, with the trauma getting stuck in your body, it's very difficult to release that on your own. So what would you say?
Healing is a journey, I would say, as well. It's like there's no final destination. It is a journey.
So what we've kind of touched on this, but what are your what sort of self-care practices do you use, Brooke, that you would like to share with people?
I'm fortunate I live in the country, because I've now created the life I actually love. So I love to go walking in the woods, and we've just recently got a little puppy. So it's like, that's great fun trying to puppy train him as well. But I love to go walking in the woods, being in with nature. I love to, I often sit in the morning and I will do some breathing exercising just to regulate my nervous system, because I'm all about making sure that the nervous system is regulated to be able to get on with my day. And I'll often do what the technique called butterfly tapping. I don't know if you've ever heard of that technique. And I'll show it to the audience just to help them out, because it is wonderful. You basically cross your arms and just tap either side of your arms. But if you've ever had sort of like any sexual abuse and that feels too much, you can actually tap the side of your thighs instead. But as you're doing it, just think of a nice peaceful place that you want to be. I mean, I always go to the New Forest. I absolutely love the New Forest. I love being around trees. And what that does is it helps you to bring your thoughts process into your logical part of your brain, the front part of your brain, and out of the amygdala, which is like your fight or flight part of the brain at the back of your head. So whilst you're doing that tapping either on your arms or on your thighs and thinking about a nice peaceful place, you can't actually be in that fight flight situation. So that helps you to calm your nervous system down. And I'm very, very big on self-care. I always make sure, like, first thing in the morning, I do like my self-care first before I see my clients. I love to do journaling, talking about gratitude, what I'm grateful for the day before, what I'm grateful for that's going to happen in that day, and just making sure that I check in with myself at how I feel about myself and how my nervous system's feeling and where I'm feeling things in my body, because our bodies are always talking to us. And we, as children, we're quite intuitive with that. Children will cry when they're hurt. They will smile when they're happy. They will sing when they want to sing. But as we get older, we kind of get programmed to like tone it down and behave as such, and we can sometimes detach from that intuition. So if you feel like you want to like cluck in with your intuition again, watch a child, because a child can go from I'm sad and angry and scream out and have a temper tantrum to be singing in the next week, because they release their trauma, they process it there and then on the spot. Whereas we hold it in, especially if you're a mother, it's like, oh, I don't want my children to see I'm upset, so I'll just battle through the day and I'll burst into tears when they're in bed. But actually, it's better to let them see you crying, to let them know it's okay for them to cry as well.
Absolutely.
So I just really check in with my body every day, because, I worked a lot on my mindset when I first started coaching, but I realized that you need the body and the mind aligned together, and your body is always talking to you. So it's like listening to your body, because that will tell you what you need to do and what you need to have in your life as well.
Absolutely. And the whole piece around listening to your body, I think that's such an alien concept to somebody who has never done any inner work before and has never done any healing before. I mean, I remember when somebody said that to me years ago, I was like, what are you on about? I just get on.
Because a lot
No
of people
concept.
that have had trauma in their lives are detached from their feelings, that they buried them so deep that the thought of actually noticing what you're feeling in your body can be a scary concept as well.
Oh, yes.
So I always tell up my clients that and say, look, I will never go any faster than your nervous system is ready to go, because you can't get somebody to do something, because if you trigger off their nervous system, that they will go straight into their body and they won't be able to absorb it anyway in their mind, because you're working again from the fight flight situation rather than from the logical part of your brain. So it's being aware of where their nervous system is and working with that. And so many of my clients say to me, it's so nice to be able to talk to somebody who's been in that situation, to understand that I can't go really, really quickly, and to understand, because I talk to a lot of people that say, when I tell other people about my mother, this is my clients talking, they say, well, she can't really be that bad. Well, you have to love her because she's your mother. She gave birth to you, whereas that's not always the way when you've had a narcissistic mother that's put you through hell all your childhood. So, you haven't got those natural feelings of love for her. And that can make you feel like you're an outsider, that you're not normal. But, it's okay to feel how you feel. And if you haven't got that connection, it's okay. Just because she gave birth to you, it doesn't mean to say that you have to put up with everything that she decides to dish out to you.
Absolutely. And those boundaries, especially with people that are so supposed to be close to you, getting those boundaries in place, that is a real challenge, isn't it? Where it's easy to make boundaries with people that you don't care about, but it can be difficult with family members. Our ladies on the Livinglimitlessly course are just about to embark in an hour after this session on the first in a program of boundaries. And that comes up a lot, that it's all very well until you get to your husband or your mother or your father or your brother.
I've just had some Sandy ask a question saying, am I at peace with your relationship with your mother now? I'm totally at peace. I don't think she is, and she never will be, but I've accepted that she's disowned me and she doesn't want anything to do with me, and that's fine, because she's never really been a mother to me in my life anyway, Sandy. So thank you for asking that question. But I've got some amazing women in my life that are like mother figures, and my auntie was an amazing mother figure to me as well. So I never really had a mother, so I don't kind of feel like I've missed out, because you can't miss out something you've never had. But so I am totally at peace with it, and I wouldn't ever want to see any harm come to her, because she's a human being, and I feel sad for her, because she's very lonely now. But I don't have any feelings of like love for her, or loss that she's not in my life anymore, because when she was in my life, it was just very toxic anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. There's only so many times you can put a boundary up and have it trampled.
Yeah. Well, I never had any boundaries. I was a big, huge people pleaser as well, because I worked out that was a safe way to live, to be a people pleaser and just let her do whatever. But when I did start putting the boundaries up, did she kick off? It was like, because she wasn't benefiting anymore. But
if there's anybody listening that feels they're a people pleaser, give us a yes in the comments. I think there's a lot of us about. I'm a recovering people pleaser.
Yeah. I used to be such a huge people pleaser. It was like, I'll go see Brooke, she'll do it, because my thing was, I want to make everybody in the world happy if it kills me, and it nearly did, because I couldn't bear the thought of somebody else being unhappy. But I also, it was that inner child wound of mine of not being good enough and not being lovable. If I say no to somebody, they may reject me, and the pain, I couldn't bear the pain of that.
Yeah.
So it was
Even
like
people
that
that
feeling.
didn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Complete strangers. Yeah, it was like I would
And you'd
run
run
around
it
and do
over in your
whatever.
head, wouldn't you? Over and over and over. What did I do? What did I do? Did I say? Should I? Oh,
And
exhausting.
the rare occasion I said no, it's like the guilt. It's like, oh my goodness, how are they going to cope with it? I would spend hours thinking about that, because so it was easy for me to say yes, because at least I didn't have the guilt. I would just be frustrated with myself for like wanting to say no, but the word yes came out. And so many of my clients relate to that, and I'm sure that you and your audience will as well.
Yeah, Julie's saying yes. She's a people pleaser. Yeah. Here's to recovering from people pleasing. It's a game changer. Yeah, and that's about finding your boundaries, isn't it? Finding your boundaries, healing your trauma, and going on the journey.
And in actual fact, I wrote a book, How to Break Through the Self-Sabotage Cycle, and one of those is talking about being a people pleaser, and how once I actually stopped being a people pleaser, I was happier, and people around me suddenly became happier. And it was like, if I'd only known it was that simple, years ago, I'd have saved myself a lot of exhaustion and tiredness and stress and worry, because, I'm not a people pleaser now, and I've got some happy people around me. So I don't have to try and make people happy, because people around me are naturally happy anyway, because I've got a different set of friends around me, because they're not people that just want to take and walk over my boundaries that I didn't even have.
Absolutely. Julie's saying that most people talk about fight or flight. She says she seems to shut down and stay quiet. And she's wondering, she hates confrontation. And this is something that I come across with my clients. Have you got anything to say about the other, not fight or flight, the other one?
Yeah, well, the other one is freeze, because what we do is we've got like what we call the safe zone, when you feel connected and engaged. And like with me and you talking here, we both feel completely safe and completely engaged with each other. But then if you perceive danger, you go into that fight or flight. And then if that perceived danger still carries on going, you then go into what is like known as a freeze. And you can go into functional freeze, whereas like you'll go through your day completely detached from your feelings, just functioning. Or you can go into that freeze where you just want to keep quiet, keep as small as possible, kind of like bury your head and hope nobody sees you, because you feel safest there. And it's a bit like if you ever watch a wildlife program when a lion's chasing an antelope, it will either fight and try and run, or if it gets caught, it will go into that freeze and pretend looks like it's dead, like it's give up, but it hasn't. What it's actually doing is feeling the safest place it can, thinking, if I stay here and stay still, I won't get hurt and nobody will see me, and hopefully the lion will clear off thinking it's killed it, and it can get up and then run away. So what we do is, it's called, burying the head under the duvet. If you want a sort of person that would rather like have your head under the duvet rather than face people, you're in that freeze situation where you feel really unsafe, and that's your body's way of saying, no, I'm just safe if I keep myself small, if I just hide away in my house where I don't see other people, because people can often equal danger. So it's keeping yourself really, and your body's doing an amazing job of protecting you and keeping you safe.
Yeah, and I'd say that what a lot of people don't understand about that freeze response is that it is an extremely exhausting state to be in. It's not like playing dead and your body shuts down. No, you've got one foot on the accelerator and one on the brake. So your your autonomic nervous system is going crazy, like stop, start, stop, start. But you're immobile, but you're like doing that inside all the time. So you go to bed and you sleep, but you're still absolutely exhausted. So
and you feel guilty because you're not doing the stuff that you think you should be doing, and you go down this, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, but I just can't, and you get more and more exhausted. And it's like, and you can go from like freeze to fight, flight, then back up to freeze again, and you can spend the day bouncing between the two. But what I help my clients do is to calm their nervous system down, so they can be in that safe, connected, engaged, it's called the ventral vagal state, where you can feel connected with everybody and feel connected with the world, and which is a much nicer place to be. And I used to spend most of my time in either fight or flight and freeze, but now most of my time is spent in in that safe zone, in that ventral vagal state, where I feel really connected and engaged with people and in the world as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that for me too. And to understand that, I think a valuable part of your work and what I do as well is explaining to people in really simple terms why they couldn't stop what was being done to them or what was going on around them, because you were in freeze. When as a child, when something as horrific as your mother, that being that you are totally dependent on for life, is threatening you, you have to override that your autonomic nervous system. Every time you look at her, every time she's near you, you have to override that. And that's, you can't keep doing that and not go into freeze, because you have to dissociate to numb yourself in some way to be able to cope. And
And
that's what a lot
your
of
body's
people,
way of,
they
your
stay
body's
stuck,
way of
don't they? We get,
doing it. And it's
we
doing
stay
an
stuck
amazing
in
job.
dissociation. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I didn't
And
feel for years, and people said to me, "Oh, you need to have therapy, Brooke," by the sounds of it. It's like, no, I'm okay. I'm surviving as I am. I don't want to open that Pandora's box. I'm surviving.
yes,
But it got to the stage where I thought, I'm sick of surviving. I actually want to thrive. So then it was like, then I opened the box and, discovered, because a lot of trauma in childhood, children will blank it out because it's a great way to help them to cope in living with life, and a lot of people are scared to, like, if those things they blanked out will come out in therapy. But the thing is, if they do come out, you're in a safe environment where it can be handled and dealt with and processed. So it's a good way of safely processing that. So you're not, living in that survival mode. And that's what I want every woman in the world to do, to thrive, rather than just be in that that functioning freeze mode, or that constant fight or flight, treading on eggshells, being hyper vigilant. Like, am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? Because that doesn't do our bodies any good either, living in that kind of stress situation all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And what you're saying there, it doesn't do our bodies any good, does it? Because it has a physical effect on us as well.
Absolutely,
Physically, like we can get multiple sorts of problems: migraines, headaches, chronic pain. The fibromyalgia is really common, isn't it, when we're living with constant trauma, and a myriad of other physical problems that people don't put the two together. They don't put that's childhood trauma, and it's coming out now as a plus 40 woman. You think, well,
And
should be
what's
able to,
happening is that the cortisol is being released into the body because they've gone into that fight or flight. So the body's getting ready to physically fight or to run. But if we're sat in front of our computers or sat in a meeting or something, when we're actually completely safe and we don't, get rid of that cortisol, it builds up in our bodies and it creates, a disease, which is, not being at ease. Like, dis-ease is the actual word about it. So it will come out somehow, like it will come out with IBS, like rheumatoid arthritis, like you say, fibromyalgia, autoimmune, diseases. So many clients come to me with aching shoulders, like you say, neck aches, headaches, because it's all built up in the body and it has to come out somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Same for me. So many of my clients do. And I did too, my headaches and back pain and all sorts of grumbles have eased and in some cases gone since I've healed, let that trauma out of my body and let my body stop fighting with my brain. Yeah. Brooke, we could talk for hours. Oh, let's just, Nikki's got a question. She says, have you ever been aware that your mother is actively trying to traumatize you?
Yes, she's actually, when I was younger, I'll tell a really quick story. I was quite skinny and little, and because of my medical issues, I didn't sort of like grow really sort of like at the rate of everybody else did. So my mother sort of spoke to the doctors and said, right, you need to sort of like build her up with food and stuff. And she knew I hated steak and kidney pie, but she would feed it to me. And my dad would say, and I'd sit there going as I was eating it because I didn't like it. And my dad would say, I don't think she likes that. Can we not give her something else? She said, well, no, she's just been awkward. You know what the doctor said? I need to build her up. And this is good nutritional food to build her up. And I would sit there and my dad was kind of like look at me and kind of raise his shoulders because he didn't know much about the nutritional side of things. And then I would look at my mum and she would smirk as if to say, you didn't win that one, did you? And if I didn't eat it for my tea, I would get it for my breakfast.
Yeah.
So she actually enjoyed watching me suffer. You know, it was like she was scared of me actually being me, because I don't know what it was that there was, you know, when I was younger, but now I realize that, you know, narcissists have got so deeper wounds than we have, of like not feeling good enough and not feeling worthy. And she was just being constantly triggered off with things. And I think the fact that I wasn't born in her eyes properly as a normal child, then I was a letdown to her, and it was, you know, confirmation that she wasn't good enough as a parent, because she didn't produce a healthy child as such in her eyes. That's what she's often said to me. So yeah, she did actually enjoy, you know, being nasty to me as well. Not only is it a thing that was, you know, in her as well, she was wired that way, but she actually enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I reckon a lot of people who are watching will be able to have be nodding their heads at that. Yeah, yeah. Brooke, we could talk forever. I know we could. We could be here forever, but we are drawing to the 45-minute, no, 40 minutes. So we're doing good. So before we wrap up, I wondered, you shared that the butterfly hug, the tapping hug. Have you got any other tips that the ladies can take away to help them in any way with if they are dealing with narcissistic mothers?
The first thing to do is just check in with yourself and how you feel, because, you know, if you think about your narcissistic mother, if you're around her, we tend to like tense up, which automatically sends a signal to our subconscious mind that there's danger about. So it's being aware again of your body. So like, make sure your shoulders are relaxed, that your heart's not pumping too fast. And one of the things to do that is do what I call the 5-2-8 technique. It's like a breathing technique. Breathe in through your nose at a count of 5, hold for a count of 2, and then breathe out from your mouth, counting back from 8 to 0.
Can we do that? Can we do that, just so that everybody's got an example here and can check back in if they need to? Yeah.
So okay, so breathe in through your nose for a count of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold for a count of 2. 1, 2. Then breathe and count backwards out of your mouth. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And it's having a longer out breath will help you to like slow your heart rate down. So when your heart rate's slow, it sends a signal to your brain to say that you're actually safe. So you can do the butterfly tapping or do the breathing just before you're going to be around your mother if she triggers you off. But it's also sort of thinking about what boundaries you can put in place, and if they're not working, one of the best things you can probably do is not have any contact with her. You know, but if that's not possible, it's being aware of, you know, how you feel about yourself, and building up that, and going to see a therapist or a coach to build up those worthiness wounds of yourself, healing those worthiness wounds, because once you're healed, then she won't be able to affect you. I can remember if like my phone rang or there's text come through, I'd look at my phone and think, oh my God, it's her. What does she want? What's she going to say? What do I need to say? And my heart would be pounding, my palms would get sweaty. I'd be really, really tense. But she can come into a room now. She could scream at me and say, you're ugly, you're useless, you're worthless. I wish you'd have died at birth. And I'd go, that's your opinion. That's up to you. And my body wouldn't change, because I've healed those wounds that she used to be able to poke at and have an effect on me. So it is really working on yourself, because a narcissist is never going to change. You know, you'll never get a narcissist come in and say, I'm a narcissist, I need therapy, I need help. You know, because they all think that's everybody else's fault. If everybody else behaved, they'd be okay. It's because everybody else isn't behaving is why they're acting the way they are. So it's working on yourself and understanding how your body works, and that you've got trauma trapped in your body, and going to a trauma-informed coach or therapist to get that trauma released and healed.
Absolutely. Here. From the bottom of my nervous system.
Absolutely.
The final question I have to ask you, Brooke, is, do you have a gift for our listeners that will help them on their journey?
I do, actually. I've got a PDF that they can download. It's called the 5-Stage Guide to Break Through the Self-Sabotage Cycle, which goes into, you know, there's 5 different stages of how to help you to break through the self-sabotage cycle. It talks about self-confidence and boundaries and people pleasing. So they can download that. I think I've given you the link, so you can pop them in the thread underneath. If not, I can pop the link. But they're also welcome to come and join my Facebook group. It's a free group as well. It's called the Confidence Community, to be seen, heard, and be confident to be you and have fun at the same time. So, so yeah.
You're running a little 5-day confidence.
I am.
Course,
I'm running
you?
a confidence boot camp on the 4th of September, and I'll put the links into that as well. So it's a great day where that's very, very interactive. Lots of people get value from it. It's a game changer. A lot of people have called it, because I run this every September and every January. So anybody who's listening and wants to come along, you'll learn about trauma, and you'll learn a lot about yourself. And we bond very, very quickly in there, because everybody gets to join the Facebook group at the same time, and it's very, very interactive. But I make sure that you go at the speed of your own nervous system, so you're very well looked after. And people have made friends in those boot camps that have made friends for life, and they've changed over the 5 days. Their confidence is completely changed, because I know how to help people who've been traumatized and how the nervous system works, to help them to feel confident in that short period of time. So if that's something that if you're watching live or watch on the replay and you want to join, it's not until the 4th of September, so you've still got plenty of time to join, and I'd love to have you along as well. So
wonderful. I'm going to come. It sounds wonderful.
Brilliant. Yes.
We can. We're never too old to learn something new and to work with other people. So yeah, she'll definitely be there.
All that you can do is also get my book, which is called, You Can Have It, How to Break Through the Self-Sabotage Cycle. I'll put the link in the thread as well. So that's like a 12-step guide to break through the self-sabotage cycle. You can go through each chapter, or you can work it on each chapter alone, and there's exercises to do after each chapter as well.
Fantastic. So if you wouldn't mind popping all of those links into the comments on my Facebook profile, it's open, so you'll be able to pop them in there, Brooke. That would be great. And that's extremely generous of you to be sharing all those things, lots of them free as well. So please, ladies, take Brooke up on her offers and join the challenge, download the PDF, join a Facebook group. If you're struggling with a narcissistic person in your life, it doesn't have to be your mother. It might be your partner. It might be somebody else in your family. So get in touch, because you're going to learn so much that from Brooke's great experience. Great experience. That's a horrible way to put it. You know what I mean? Yeah. From your lived experience. Yeah. Brooke, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk with you. This has been, I completely forgot that we were actually doing this, and it's just been a really enjoyable chat, and really great to hear more about your work. We've got so much in common. We have studied the same things, and we're passionate about the same things. So good to share. Thank you so much. Thanks, Shireen, Karen, Nikki, Mel. Thank you. Oh, Mel, Mel says, Mel's one of my lovely friends. I've known her for donkey's years. She says she wants to give a big hug to Brooke. She gets what you're saying, as her family is a cross between the Osborns and the Simpsons.
Thank you, Mel. Big hugs back to you too. I appreciate that. Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much, everybody. This is Sarah on the Wisdom of Women interviews, signing out, and go forth and live your limitless life. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for having me. It's been great. Well done, Sarah. It's been a fantastic first interview.
Thank you.